When Graham launched his campaign last year in August, I, like many others, were inspired by the policy message put forth in his launch video. With a progressive policy page to match, he was one of the first secular lefty approved candidates when I began this project. Then the tattoo gate happened, and I'll admit I was concerned when the stories first came out. For those who might have missed that story, which if you follow politics, you probably know about it, but the cliff notes are these. Platner's background includes serving in the Marines. During one of his tours, him and some fellow Marines got tattoos while drinking one evening. Graham picked the skull and crossbones tattoo design off the wall, and they were doing this while in Croatia. The tattoo happened to be a Totenkopf, a design used by the Nazis. There are many centrists and liberals in online social media bubbles still convinced that because of this story, Graham Platner is a Nazi. Those people are wrong. Graham did get the tattoo covered as soon as learning about this. There's no other evidence to suggest that Graham agrees with Nazi ideology. Those same people will then pivot to Graham's Reddit post from decades ago. Sure, some of the things he said were dumb, stupid, bigoted, combination of the three, but who he was 10, 15 years ago is not who he is now. Also, as they cite those Reddit posts, in other posts, he was actively condemning Nazi ideology at the same time, so undermines their first argument. Not to mention the real current-day Nazis are in this Republican administration. Stephen Miller and all the other Christian nationalists and white supremacists are MAGA Republicans. If he honestly held those views, that's where he would be. As for the bigoted statements he made, he's condemned those posts and has explained ad nauseum in interviews and at town halls with his community how he has been working to change for the better. While many in our Democratic Party across this country are stuck in their blue bubbles and can't accept new evidence, only willing to believe what the Democratic establishment has told them, that Graham holds extreme views and is unelectable. Well, I will trust the people of Maine over those in online bubbles who can't think critically. While those people yelled on social media, Platner's campaign had become so unstoppable, it forced the establishment-backed candidate, the current governor of Maine, Janet Mills, to drop out of the primary race. For those who are still confused why, confused how, despite these alleged controversies, that Graham Platner is still a candidate supported by the voters, it is because Graham Platner has been nonstop touring the state and speaking with the people of Maine. A campaign is far more than just having a good policy page and getting your name on the ballot. You have to be out speaking with voters, building a volunteer network, and offering the voters something to vote for. As mentioned, Platner's policy page aligns with many of the policies I listed earlier in the video. Additionally, at the time of this recording, his campaign has been endorsed by Leaders We Deserve, Our Revolution, Progressive Victory, Track APAC, and the Working Families Party. Once Janet Mills dropped out of the race, the Democrats officially endorsed Platner. I noticed some other people online were upset by this decision, since technically the primary is still ongoing. Now sure, are there technically two other candidates that voters could theoretically vote for? Sure, but they won't. They won't because Graham Platner is the better candidate who has and continues to go all around Maine speaking with the people, going on interviews and communicating his vision for a better Democratic Party. The other candidates will not get a substantial amount of votes in the primary. The David Costello fella, probably a kind enough guy, has an okay policy page, but he has no campaign presence. The only time I remember that he's running is when I look at this Ballotpedia page. But at least he put in the work to make the ballot. The write-in candidate, Andrea LaFlame, who again, a nice person with decent policy positions, but she won't win as a write-in candidate. She does have a larger social media presence when compared to David Costello, but just being a candidate on Blue Sky isn't going to work. At best, Andrea might get a little over 1,000 votes, but I doubt even that will happen. She is endorsed by Citizens Impeachment, who I normally agree with their endorsements, but I can't do it for a write-in candidate, and not when there is clearly a better candidate on the ballot. And it's a shame, too. Had Andrea or half of the candidates running in the 2nd district decided to run against the incumbent in the 1st, there could have been an approved candidate running for every seat this cycle. Maybe in 2028 we'll see some of these candidates running again for either the 1st district or to replace the other geriatric senator. Due to the great campaign Platner has been running, if you live in Maine, chances are you may have already participated in one of his town halls. If by chance you haven't seen any interview or town hall of his, maybe you are someone that only thinks of Platner as he has been described in those establishment hit pieces, I have 2 clips I decided to share with you, as they highlight 2 important points about his campaign. I'll play them back to back. The first is from a town hall earlier in the year when he addresses the concerns of one of his constituents, and the second is from a recent interview he did with Mehdi on his channel Zeteo, quickly discussing his policy views.
I would love to be out protesting. I would love to be out knocking on doors. But I'll be honest, a person like me could get killed right now in this country. I believe in you, and I believe that you are a better man than you once were in the past, because I'm a better person than I was in the past. If I stand with you, will you fight with me? Will you stand up for me?
I firmly believe that every single American has the right to live the life they want to live in their own body as they see fit. I also fully recognize that as a cis white male with a bunch of tattoos and a long combat record, that I get to put myself out there in ways that other people don't. I just want to tell you, this is why I'm doing this. I am doing this because I know that I can say things. I know that I can have conversations. I know that I can knock on doors in places that a lot of other people can't have access to, that a lot of other people won't feel safe in. That is a responsibility that I feel, and it is why I am doing this. And I just want to say thank you, because I know how hard this is. I just want to say that, yes, I will absolutely stand next to you. And if we ever have to go knock doors together, I'm happy to stand by your side.
So,
of real people.
On that note, let's do a quick rapid fire to see where you stand on some real issues. Would you vote in favor of a $20 minimum wage?
Yes.
Would you vote to get rid of the Senate filibuster?
Yes.
Would you vote to convict Donald Trump in an impeachment trial?
Yes.
Do you support statehood for DC and Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Do you support Chuck Schumer for Senate Majority Leader?
No.
Do you support Hakeem Jeffries for House Speaker in 2027?
No.
Would you support a ban on assault weapons?
No.
If you go on to win your Senate seat in Maine, will you run for president in 2028?
No.
All right, so those answers, I think a lot of people will be nodding along, apart from probably the assault weapons ban question, which I think, as you know, a lot of progressives will disagree with you on and say it's a major issue that helps prevent mass shootings. What would you say to them?
I think in a country that's already awash in guns, we have 20 to 30 million AR-15s in America. We don't actually know how many. Restricting access to people with a violent history or people who are going to commit a violent act, that is where we're going to see the most effect. And I support universal background checks, and I support red flag laws, like the one that Maine passed by ballot measure overwhelmingly last November. I think that those, combined with expanding mental health services across the board as part of a much more substantial healthcare system, and using the power of the federal government to elevate people out of poverty, I think holistically, when we think about gun violence, that's where we're going to get the most reduction.
The reasons for why these 2 clips. The first one provides an example of how Platner is running a campaign for all of his constituents. He is there out in his communities listening to their concerns, and after watching his response to that question, are you still with a straight face going to tell me this guy's a Nazi? If you say yes, after this video, turn off the phone and the computer and go outside. The second clip. It's always great hearing candidates be clear in their answers about certain policies and who they won't support for certain leadership positions. Sure, some liberals may not like the assault weapons ban answer, but as someone who grew up around firearms in Pennsylvania and has worked with many gun nuts at various workplaces, Graham is 100% right on the issue there. The US has a gun culture with more guns than people in this country. I don't agree with that's how it should be. I'm just stating that's where we are right now. When guns are used in violent mass shootings, yes, the access to the firearm plays a major role, and that is understood. But the root cause of the violent action isn't just the existence of the gun. It's poverty, mental illness, and so many of the other societal problems we face that haven't been addressed for decades. So I agree with Platner's position. Let's get Medicare for All passed, increase wages and unionization and education, and then reevaluate the gun issue then, while also supporting background checks and red flag laws. That is the moderate position a majority of Americans will agree to when voting. There are countless other great examples of Graham talking about policy and explaining his vision for a better future. These are the actions that make him one of the best candidates running this election cycle. For candidates to win, be like Graham Platner and be out in your communities. Communicate clearly what you are fighting for and why the voters should vote for you. The primary election and voting will still happen on June 9th, but as far as the U.S. Senate race is concerned, the best candidate is clear, and I believe a majority of Maine voters will agree.